Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome, shalom. I am sorry for my delay here. Nice to see you, Lisa. Welcome to Torah Study. Today's Torah Study is dedicated by Terry Zweig, a newcomer to our community through the coronavirus, so through the quarantine is how we connected to Terry. Only because of our online virtual Torah Study is how we connected, and we study regularly every day. Today's Torah Study was dedicated by Terry Zweig in honor of her father, Joe Brand, on the occasion of his 84th birthday. Mazel tov to your father, Terry, and it's great to know that our community is truly virtual, studying with you in Atlanta. So again, something very strange happened to me today. Very, very strange. You know, it was like every detail that I could have of the sequencing of getting here was not working out, just silly little obstacles in my path. And I realized at one point, like I almost wanted to abandon the class until I realized, no. This has got to be something very, very important. Today's message must be so profound that the Sitra Achra, the other side, the side of impurity, is trying to literally throw bicycles and tires and obstacles in my path. It's got to be really important. And in fact, what we're learning today in Tanya is something that speaks to the essence of the Sitra Achra. It really speaks to the essence of what is the definition of the evil that is inside of us. We're at the second half of chapter 29 of Tanya today. And what we really are doing today is coming face to face with the evil that is inside of us, with our evil inclination. Again, to all of my friends here, I do apologize for the delay. I'm very late this morning. But I think it's because the evil inclination, the Sitra Achra, was literally trying to block my path with the most ridiculous. I can't even tell you what kind of obstacles I had this morning. They were so ridiculous. And that's basically why I'm late. I'm here now. Thank you for understanding. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for being with me. So what we're talking about in chapter 29, just to refresh your memory as we're getting into this class, is going to be a shorter class today. We spoke last week about how to deal with apathy in general. When you're not feeling turned on and inspired to spirituality, how do you deal with it? The Alter Rebbe in Tanya 29 says that the way to go about that when the wood is not catching fire, quoting from the Zohar, from the Kabbalah, he says you got to splinter the wood. If the wood of the beam is too thick, that's why it's not catching fire. You're going to smash it, and that's when it's going to catch fire. You don't necessarily need to increase the fire to increase your spiritual exposure as much as you have to smash the wood, which is to humble and break your coarseness, your sense of ego. And he went about the way to do that. He said 2 ways is how we do that. Number 1 is coming to realize how distant you've strayed from holiness, how many sins you've committed, your thought, speech, and action. Your dreams are a reflection. Your dreams at night are a reflection of your thoughts by day. The various meditations that he mentioned to us last week in the first part of chapter 29, the Alter Rebbe was walking us through the thought process of how we can break our ego and realize that I'm really not such hot stuff as much as I would like to think that I am, and I'm actually quite far removed from godliness. The second element was through literally raising my voice and shouting at my evil inclination. And he gives an example of Moses and the Jewish people at the threshold of the Promised Land. The Jewish people are ready to enter the Promised Land, and they send the spies in, 12 spies, 10 of whom give a negative report, a very negative report. There's no way we can conquer these people, they said. They're stronger even than God. Moses now goes ballistic on the 10 spies. He says, because of you, there's no hope for us. We're going to wander in the desert. He gives them a very, very harsh rebuke. And suddenly now the people turn around and they say, no, we can do it. Suddenly everything changes. If they didn't believe that they could do it before, then why suddenly if they didn't believe that they could enter the Promised Land before, then why suddenly now do they believe that they can enter the Promised Land? All that happened was Moses' rebuke. He didn't tell them anything that they didn't know before. The reason is because he broke their ego. Through raising his voice, he broke their ego, and that is what allowed the light to shine within them. Just like the analogy of the Zohar, of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai in the Kabbalah, who says that a wood that doesn't catch fire needs to be smashed into smithereens. So too, when your soul is not catching on to godliness, what you need to do is smash it. You need to break it through inner humbling or through rebuke and shouting at it, and that's what's going to break it down from its arrogance and allow the light to shine within it. And indeed, we see that with regards to the people that were in the desert and ultimately wanted to go into the promised land, but it was too late. Moses says, sorry, now you're going to have to die in this desert. For the next 40 years, you're going to have to wander around until the next generation is going to be able to enter the promised land. The central idea here is that a tzaddik, a righteous individual, is one who has slaughtered his evil inclination. Basic principle in Tanya. But a Beinani is someone who's not slaughtered or subdued his evil inclination. A Beinani, an intermediate Jew, an ordinary Jew like you and me, is one who still grapples with his evil inclination. And in such a case, our evil inclination is really who we are, is really our primary identity. The tzaddik is the one who's managed to realign his identity from his animal soul to his godly soul. But the Beinani, the intermediate Jew, the one who Tanya talks to, the book for in-betweeners, the Beinani, you see it on the title, the book for in-betweeners, right? The Beinani is the one who still grapples with his evil inclination, and whose evil inclination is actually his primary identity. Therefore, when you break your own ego, you're effectively breaking your evil inclination, your sitra achra. Now, how does this principle work? And that's what this concept is all about. Why is it that by suddenly shouting at your evil inclination, you're going to expose it? The reason is because what we're going to talk about in the next few minutes is the very essence of evil within us. Klippa means superficiality, is a word which we use to describe the sitra achra, which means the other side. And what we're going to talk about right now speaks to the essence of how evil operates within us. And it's very much related to the way we've spoken about evil in the world in general. You see, when we speak about evil in the world in general, we say, Ein ra yored milamayla, no evil descends from above. There is no such thing as bad. Everything is good. God is good. God only does good. God is always in control. God is always kind. And God is always just. God cares about us. He is infinitely kind, and God is all powerful. So therefore, no evil descends from above. Ein ra yored milamayla. What looks like evil is merely an apparition. It's hidden good. I know that's a very difficult concept to relate to, but at least intellectually we can accept the concept, and we've spent hours on trying to relate to that idea. I encourage you to go back to those classes on youtube.com/Jewish Garden. Just search for the class, which is Why Bad Things Happen to Good People. It's a Tanya class. Much like it is with evil in the world at large, so too it is with evil inside of us. It is merely an apparition. It doesn't truly exist, and here is how the Alter Rebbe describes it. The evil inside of us is like a shadow. You see, shadows cannot exist without the presence of light. Even though the shadow hides the light, it's actually a response to the light. If there was no light, there would be no shadow. Only when there is light can the shadow exist to ironically conceal the light. But the moment that the light disappears, the shadow automatically goes away as well. So you have an entity whose identity conceals its origin. You have an entity here whose entire being is all about biting the hand that feeds it. The shadow hides the light that feeds it. It's a remarkable concept. By way of analogy, the Torah tells us that when you say a lie which is evil, a lie will never survive unless it has within it a kernel of truth. If a lie is void of even a single kernel of truth, it will never last. It's only because a lie contains within it a single kernel of truth, at least, is what will make it survive. Which, by the way, we learn from the story of the spies, which I mentioned moments ago. It was in the story of the 10 evil spies that slandered the land of Israel that we learn, Rashi tells us, that they made sure to include at least one true detail about the land of Israel. Indeed, the land is very, very wonderful, but they are stronger than us, but we have no ability or hope of conquering them because they are stronger than even our God, right? But the fact that they said that the land is very good, the fact they mentioned the fruits, they brought the fruits of the land, as indeed the land is incredible. The fact that they brought that kernel of truth is what gave sustenance to the rest of the lie to perpetuate. Because the lie is like the shadow. Without a little bit of light, you need just a little tiny source of light to create a shadow. Without that tiny source of light, there is no ability for the shadow to ever exist. And that is how we view the evil within us. The evil within us is merely an apparition. It doesn't truly exist. There is only good. This apparition was created in order to test and challenge the good within us. So it derives its sustenance from the good, and its entire purpose is there to challenge the good. Nothing more. Like a shadow. Once you've exposed it as being there only to challenge the good, by breaking your ego, by raising your voice and shouting at it and blowing its cover, what you've now done is neutralize the evil within you by clarifying the existence of evil as merely a shadow to hinder the light. The shadow now no longer needs to exist, and it slinks away. It disappears. Which is why the spies, once Moses rebuked them, the people automatically said, "Oh, let's go back. We can do this." We mentioned the analogy of a king who wants to test his son, the prince, to make sure that he's ready to become a king. So what he does is that the king hires the most gifted prostitute in the land. Why does he do this? He hires a loyal subject in order to go against everything that he represents, to go against the king, to go against the prince, in order to test him. The point is in order to test him, but he needs a very, very loyal subject, someone that is willing to give up everything that she believes in order to be a double agent, so to speak, to do the opposite of what she really wants to do. And that is the perfect metaphor for what is the evil inclination within us. The evil inclination is a holy servant of God. It is not a true existence. It is there only to test us, nothing more. The moment that the prince says to the prostitute, "I know who you are. I know that you're loyally devoted to me and to my father and to our kingdom. I know that this is just a test. I know that this is not real, that you're not really trying to seduce me. You really want me to overpower you and not succumb to this test." She says, she packs her bags and she leaves because her cover has been blown. And that's the reason that the Alter Rebbe says that we can overcome our apathy to spirituality by merely identifying the root of the evil that is inside of us. That's why I felt I had so many challenges to get here to this class this morning, because I felt that I'm coming to face with the evil within us. And I think that is something that the evil cannot tolerate. It will do anything to prevent itself from being exposed. So if the Yetzer Hara was able to create a scenario that our Tanya class today is shorter than usual, then I think that's what the Yetzer Hara wants. That's what the shadow wants to create. A circumstance where we're not able to elaborate for much longer on the struggle with our evil within us. But we will overcome. We will not allow the evil inclination to block our path. That's the reason why the Sitra Achra is called a klipa. Klipa means, the Sitra Achra means the other side. It's called klipa, which means a superficial covering. Only on the outside does it look like it has any form or character or identity. It's only lipstick. It's only on the outside. But if you look deeper inside, you realize that it's just a facade. It's just fake. So if you were to, when you're watching a movie and you see all the buildings, you feel like you're in a real town. But when you step into one of the houses and you look inside, you're like, oh, there's nothing here. It's just sticks holding up facades. You realize that this is just fake, and you realize that you don't have to get too excited about the movie because it's not real. If you step inside the klipa, if you get a little bit behind its psychology, you'll realize that it's just fake. It's just a prop. And that's why it's called the klipa, the peel, the superficial, just the facade. The Satan in Christian theology is perceived as an entity that is opposed to God. But in Judaism, the Satan is a holy angel. The word Satan means to deviate. His mission is to lead us astray. The Satan is the prostitute angel, whose job it is to seduce us, to lead us away from our mission. That's what the word Satan means. Satan doesn't mean evil or bad or I don't know what. It means to lead us astray, to lead us away from our path, from our mission. There's an analogy that can be used to describe the existence of evil as a coronavirus. A virus. What is a virus? From what I understood from my brief conversation with Dr. Collins, a virus is not something which has its own ability to exist. It's like an organism that is a parasite that feeds off of other organisms. So it will come into a human body and sort of corrupt the hosts. So the very same host through which it survives is the same host which it corrupts. That's what a virus is. It will infect the human that gives its life, which is it bites the hand that feeds it. Very strange concept, right? Why you would want to do that. It's like a bloodsucker. It's a parasite. But that is what the evil within us is. It doesn't truly exist. It has no existence of its own. And if we can only have the ability to focus, the higher consciousness, to be able to stop and realize that the evil within us is not really an independent existence. It's just an apparition. It's just a facade. It's only there in order to lead us astray by order of God. And if you can have the presence of mind to have that conversation with the evil within you, with your evil inclination, then you will have neutralized the evil within you. You will have blown its cover and revealed that its entire purpose is nothing more than to lead you astray. And I'd like to do this from the inside of the book of Tanya. Let's take a look. I'm turning out of the book of Tanya, reading a little bit inside. It's called the Practical Tanya. We are on page 336. No. That was earlier. Oh yeah, no, yeah. Yeah, that's where we are. Page 336. Let's hear this beautiful concept in the words of the Tanya. Good morning, Stephanie and Graciela. Good morning, Helen and Warren, Deborah, Ron. Good. Okay, let's do this in the book of Tanya, 336, middle of the page. If you have the book, please follow along with me. The reason why ego deflation brings you closer to God. Why? The reason why these conversations with the animal soul are effective is because in reality, the sitra achra, the evil, has no substance at all. The sitra achra can only conceal the truth, but it has no real power. Once its lie is exposed, its allure is neutralized. And that is why the sitra achra is compared to darkness, since darkness has no substance at all and will be effortlessly banished by the light. And while the sitra achra seems to have considerable substance, since it has a lot of energy with which it animates all the non-kosher animals, as well as it animates the animal souls of the wicked nations of the world and the animal souls of Israel, as mentioned above in chapters 6 and 7. So even though the sitra achra has power to be able to sustain anything which is non-kosher in this world, including our animal souls, nevertheless, despite this apparent abundance of substance, in reality, its energizing power is not autonomous, God forbid, but rather its power is derived indirectly from the powers of holiness, as mentioned above in chapter 6 and 22. And that's why, being inherently devoid of substance, the sitra achra is eliminated completely by the presence of holiness, by clarity, just as physical darkness is eliminated by physical light. But if the sitra achra is so devoid of substance and power, why is it so difficult to overcome in our daily lives? If it's just an apparition, then why does it feel so difficult? To this, the Alter Rebbe answers, only in the case of your divine soul's holy power of Chachma, God granted special permission to the sitra achra of the animal soul to have the ability to exert itself against the divine soul. So God basically gave permission, just like to the prostitute, to attempt to seduce the king. God gave the animal soul permission to bite the hand that feeds it, to bite the godly soul, so that you will be inspired to overcome it and bring down the sitra achra of the animal soul through the above meditations of self-debasement and ego deflation, becoming disgusting in your eyes and repulsive. And if you do this, God will help you. Since with an awakening from below, there is an awakening from above. Since an awakening from below, when we get inspired, it causes an awakening from above, that God gets inspired to fulfill the verse said of the sitra achra, if you lift yourself high like an eagle, from there I will bring you down, says God. How does that work? How will God bring down the sitra achra? Namely, he will take the sitra achra's power and ability away by stripping it of the ability and permission it was given to exert itself over the divine soul's holy power of Chachma, and stripped of its power, the evil within you will be effortlessly banished and eliminated, just as physical darkness is eliminated by spiritual light. That, my friends, is the essence, the kernel of what we're talking about here today. We're talking about the essence of the evil within us. It doesn't exist. Evil is but an apparition. Evil in the world around us, it's really hidden good. And evil inside of us is really hidden good, in the sense that it's a holy angel of God, which is created only to test us. That's it, nothing else. If you can come face to face with the evil within you and say, I know who you are. You are holy like my godly soul is holy. You're only trying to test me. Both of us want me to succeed, to overpower you, like the prince talking to the prostitute. It's then that the evil loses its power. And here's the story that the Alter Rebbe brings us, a story of ego deflation. And we find this idea clearly in the Torah concerning the spies sent to scout the land of Canaan, who initially, the 10 spies said, we are unable to go up against this people, for they are stronger than us. What do they mean? And the Talmud expounds their intent. Do not read stronger than us, but rather stronger than he, stronger than God. They actually told the Jewish people that the residents of the land of Canaan are stronger than our God. God forbid, suggesting that they didn't believe in God's power to help them conquer the land. But afterwards, they suddenly and inexplicably retracted their position and said, we're ready to go up to the place that God spoke about. This story is in the book of Numbers, 1440. So what happened? How did they suddenly regain their belief in God's power? Moses, of blessed memory, had not shown them any miraculous sign or wonder in the interim period. All he said to them was that God had become angry with them and that he had sworn not to bring them to the land. But Moses said, listen, God is done with you guys. You guys are staying here. You don't want to go to the promised land? Fine. Have it your way. You're not going to the promised land. The next generation will. I mean, Moses got pretty upset with them. But of what persuasive power was this divine anger? That's all he exhibited, anger. If they didn't believe in God's power, heaven forbid, to help them conquer the 31 kings that occupied the land, this being the reason why they didn't want to go after the land in the first place. So what changed? From where did they suddenly acquire a faith which shortly beforehand seemed to be completely lacking? Nothing positive happened to inspire them. Rather, we can be certain that they didn't need to acquire faith, since they already have it. Since Jews are inherently believers, the children of believers, quote from the Talmud, Shabbos 97a. Rather, it is only that the Sitra Achra, the evil found in their bodies, exerted itself over their divine soul's holy light. As a result of the Sitra Achra's inflated ego, arrogance, and irrational chutzpah. It was God that allowed the evil within them to be arrogant, inflated, and irrational in its chutzpah, in overwhelming their godly souls. And therefore, but again, that evil within them, it doesn't really exist on its own accord. Therefore, as soon as God became angry with them and was enraged with a thunderous voice of anger, saying, how much longer must I bear this evil congregation? Your corpses will fall in this desert. Ouch. I, God, have spoken. I will do this to the entire evil congregation, etc. Their hearts were suddenly humbled and broken inside of them, hearing these harsh words. Basically, the evil within them was shattered, like the lights being exposed, shining on the shadow. As the verse states, and the people mourned greatly. And as a result, the Sitra Achra fell from its power, its arrogance, and its inflated ego. The people didn't acquire faith through some inspirational event. Rather, their inherent faith surfaced due to a negative event, due to God's anger, which dismantled the Sitra Achra that was blocking their faith. Basically, what you need to do is to remind yourself that you already have faith when you're feeling apathetic. And an emotional connection with God is already there. It's natural for you. These techniques are merely to remove the techniques of humbling yourself from within and shouting at your evil inclination like Moses shouted at the Jews of the desert. These techniques are merely to remove a superficial blockage. And to wrap up the chapter, and the Jewish people are inherently believers, the Sitra Achra only acted as a superficial blockage to their faith. And from this, we can all learn a lesson. That when doubtful thoughts about faith pop into your head, remember that they are just words emanating from the Sitra Achra. It's just like a facade in a movie set, which has exerted itself over your divine soul. It's not real, it's fake. But Jews are inherently believers, the children of believers. Whenever I meet an atheist, I tell you, I've said this before, he tells me, I don't believe in God. So I say to him, I don't believe in atheists. And that always sparks up an interesting conversation, because I truly don't believe in atheists. If you think you're an atheist, you're only drinking the Kool-Aid. As a Jew, you're buying into the superficiality of your animal soul, of your evil inclination. You're hiding, you're literally lurking in the shadow. But if I can bring the light to you, then I can expose the darkness for what it is. It will dissipate. Philosophically and ideologically speaking, they cannot be an atheist. And if I can come in with the right approach, I can heal that by using the principles we're learning today. And that is more, and what is more, remember that the Sitra Achra itself is a servant of God and believes in God without any doubts at all. Evil itself, not Not only does it not exist, it's actually a devoted servant of God. The Satan is an angel, a holy servant of God. Your evil inclination is a holy servant of God as well. And your evil inclination, she has no doubts at all about godliness. She's just doing a very, very good job at confusing you. And it has only been granted permission by God to confuse you with lies and deception so that your reward for resisting its allure will be greater. In this respect, the Sitra Achra is like a harlot, a prostitute, who with the permission of the king tries to seduce the king's son with lies and deception, as stated in the Holy Zohar. See end of chapter 9, page 121. This, my friends, is what we've learned today. With this, I'm going to conclude that we have to redefine our relationship with evil. You're on a movie set. Everyone here wants you to overcome. Nobody wants you to actually sleep with a prostitute. You're on set, the cameras are rolling, everybody's watching, and they're like, no, it's just a setup. It's a sting. Don't do it. And everybody's sitting there with bated breath, wondering if you're going to be myopic, short-sighted, to say, well, I see a prostitute, so I guess, why not? No, there's a bigger picture. Your Bubbies and Zaydis and King David and King Solomon and Sarah, Rivka, Rachel and Leah. Everybody, the Jews of all the previous generations, everybody's watching. God is watching. What's Yankel, Shmerel, Chana Todris gonna do? What's gonna happen? Everybody's waiting. Even the prostitute wants you to realize that this is a sting. You know, you see those awful stories of people that are captured, trying to solicit prostitution or solicit underage sexual relations or something. And you always see them, coming into their mugshot as they were caught in a sting. The Alter Rebbe is telling us we are in a sting. Anytime your evil impulse is trying to seduce you, it's a setup. You're being watched. It's not real. The evil impulse wants you to overcome her. She's just a prostitute paid by God. Let us have the clarity and wisdom to be able to overcome our test. We shall be successful. Today's Torah study was dedicated once again by Terry Zweig from Atlanta to in honor of her father's, Joe Brand's 84th birthday. And we wish him a shnas hatzlacha, a very successful year in health, happiness, gesund, parnasa, and nachas. And I want to encourage everybody to join us. The ladies have a women's session today with Hannah. The information was sent out in the email yesterday and on Friday. It's the Rebbitzins of Palm Beach Unite. I think it's at 10:30 this morning on Zoom. And it's a different Zoom link from the regular Zoom link. And also tonight is a very, very, very special session with Manis Friedman. Unbelievable, mind-blowing session tonight. With Manis Friedman tonight at 8 o'clock. The power of now, the opportunity within the quarantine. This is a game-changing session tonight. I highly encourage you to join us. It's only on Zoom tonight. That's jewishgardens.com/Zoom at 8 o'clock. Question coming in from Andy. So is COVID positive? Or is it the Sitra Achra? COVID positive, it breaks our egos. Or is it the Sitra Achra tries to make us afraid? It's both, Andy. COVID is real in the sense that it's really coming to test us. I'm not really understanding your question, but I mean, COVID is a perfect analogy because it's not really real, but it looks real and it does make us afraid and it does break our egos. I think you're talking about on a philosophical sense with regards to COVID. Yeah, it does break our egos, it makes us humble. And in that sense, I see what you're saying. Is COVID positive because it humbles us? Or is it Sitra Achra because it makes us afraid, it takes away our trust in God? The question is, which part of COVID are you identifying with? Are you identifying with a problem or are you identifying with a solution? So if when you approach COVID, you become afraid, then you're buying into the problem. But if when you approach COVID, you're becoming humble, then you're buying into the solution. That's how you do it. Well stated. Good question there, Andy. Okay, good. Other than that, guys, again, my apologies for running so late today. I do apologize. Hope we'll catch you later today for the ladies at 10:30. And for our big scholar and resident session tonight, 8 o'clock on Zoom with Manis Friedman. Please do invite your friends. And with that, we will end today's chapter 29 of Tanya. See you next week on chapter 30. Over and out. Shalom.